We are 2 days away from kickoff against Utah, so it's time for some hot takes or bold predictions as we get this season started. While we do these, I want you guys to let me know which take is my absolute hottest out of all of these. And y'all, some of these are hot takes. First of all, Graham Mertz. I think he's going to have at least 25 touchdowns, 3,000 yards, and 10 or less picks. In a recent interview, Napier revealed that Paul Chryst told him that he strongly misused Graham Mertz. So with a change of scenery, Mertz is a strong candidate to make the jump from mid to great, like Penix and Nix. If Graham Mertz does well, he can support strong receiver stats. Mertz has a solid year, and then he announces his return as a dark horse Heisman candidate, backed up by Lagway in 2024, becoming Mertzway, which would be the new version of Leakbo. Guys, it's an outside possibility. All right, my next hot take involves Ricky Pearsall. I think he can get at least 1,000 yards. Let's think about that. I think he gets at least 25% of the targets. I think he gets at least 60 receptions. And we're talking 8+ touchdowns. All right. He is Florida's number one, right? Wide receiver, number one, Ricky Pearsall. He came back to up his draft stock. He wants the ball. He wants it often. He wants to show the NFL what he can do. There was only 8 1,000-yard receivers in 2022, okay? It would be one of the single best wide receiver seasons in Gator football history. But let me tell you why I think it's possible. I think that he's Mertz's crutch. He's the person Mertz is going to look to. He's the one he knows he can count on. I think when times are tough, when the situation calls for a big play that they have to count on getting, the ball is going to Pearsall. Okay, but he's not going to be the only wide receiver seeing some action this year. I think that our freshman trio of wide receivers combine for 1,000 yards or more and 10 touchdowns. And I think there's going to be one that kind of breaks out above all the rest. And I think that there's some people that are going to be taking over spots in the starting lineup. They'll be alongside Pearsall by the end of the year. We have a stellar group of freshman wide receivers. I'm talking about Wilson, Mizell, Andy Jean. We've heard nothing but positive things about this group. And I really think that this next generation of great Florida wide receivers is going to show what they can do early and often. I think that these three will lead the 2024 receiving corps alongside Jeremiah Smith after he flips from Ohio State. And to anyone saying that there is no way all three of these receivers can pan out, don't forget Ike Hilliard, Jack West Green, and Riedel Anthony all came to UF together in the 1994 class and became the superstars of that legendary 1996 national championship run. Could we have that again in the near future? Y'all, they are talented. So talented. Umanmielen is going to have 10 sacks and be first team All-SEC. Honestly, I don't know that I think that this is that hot of a take. Umanmielen is one of the highest graded returning SEC players. The opposite defensive end position is going to command attention as it's either going to be Sapp or Pyburn. Both of them have stellar reports out of camp. And he's motivated to build that draft status. I think that he is going to be a force for opposing tackles. He's going to be hard to control. He's going to have a stellar season. So you heard it here first. Umanmielen, 10+ sacks and first team All-SEC. Speaking of the draft, Barber, Pearsall, Marshall, Cam Jackson, and Umanmielen each play their way into the first round draft potential. I'm not saying all of them are going to go in the first round, but I do think all of them go within the first 2 rounds of the 2024 draft. Well, the media has been sleeping on our team's talent, right? Marshall's the only mainstay on kind of low-level all-SEC lists, mainly third team. 5 of our guys have career yards, and they're going to clog up the NFL mock drafts. How cool would that be? Marshall and Uman have the highest odds to be the highest Gators drafted in the 2024 class. So they're going to be guys to keep an eye on. Speaking of Marshall, I actually think it's going to be Jalen Kimber, not Jason Marshall, that leads the team in picks. And I think he is going to be top 3 in the SEC for picks. With Jason Marshall absolutely locking up opposing wide receiver ones, right? The just cream of the crop of the opposition, quarterbacks are going to have no choice but to throw towards their second wide receiver, who is going to be guarded by Kimber. We saw Kimber snag a few key picks during the 2022 season, even with his club hand. Remember when he was injured and it was completely wrapped up? I honestly think Jason Marshall is going to have a very quiet stat sheet, as no opposing quarterback is going to dare challenge him. The staff won't be able to keep Kimber off the field as Marshall's complement, allowing him to be the SEC's leader in picks. Okay, before we go on, we want to show some love to Melvin Law. Listen, guys, there are a bunch of injury law firms out there, but there is only one that is the official partner of the Florida Gators. The official injury firm of the team that plays in the swamp should be your official injury firm as well. They do so much to give back to our program, and we appreciate the partnership with them. Listen, you may not need them today, but if you're hurt or know someone that's in an accident, give them a call or shoot them a message. It's Melvin Law. And if you don't need them today, do me a favor, go to their Facebook and enter to win tickets for the Florida-Georgia game in their ticket giveaway. We're not asking you to buy anything or spend your money. Let Melvin Law treat you to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. The link to register is in the description of this video. All right, back to those hot takes. This one I've been telling you about all off season. So I don't even know if I consider this a really hot take like some of these other ones that are pretty wild. I don't think that the O-line sees much drop off from last year. Losing star players like Torrance and Garage and White, etc., and then losing players like Goodwin, it's natural to think that this O-line is going to regress. However, Napier has stated that our O-line depth is much better than last year. While we are not going to have that top-end talent like we did last year, or a quarterback with the rushing prowess like Richardson to threaten opposing defenses, our O-line is still really talented, but more importantly, deeper than they were last season. So while our starting 5 may be a little bit less talented than the starting 5 of last year, I think Florida's going to be in it deep in these games because of the depth that they have on offensive line. And so therefore, you're really not going to see much of a drop off. And I think that's good because I think this offensive line is going to pave the way for our running backs to combine for 2,000 yards and at least 20 touchdowns. Leaning on a stronger running game than last year, even with the loss of Richardson, our stable of running backs is going to impose their will on opposing defenses. Coupled with the emergence of a new look Graham Mertz and a solid run block, Etienne, Johnson, and Webb are going to crank out one of Florida's strongest running games in recent memory. Johnson and or Etienne, or both, are candidates to have 1,000 yards themselves. If Montrell declares for the draft, he could easily become a starting NFL running back in the near future. And it wouldn't be Billy's first. This is the strongest position on Florida's roster. And I think that Billy Napier is going to ride this stable of running backs often, early, and they're going to produce. All right, guys, this might be the hottest take of them all. I think Florida has the possibility to walk into the Georgia game undefeated. Is Florida underrated or are there frauds in the SEC? I don't know. We're going to find out. In years past, this was not a bold prediction, right? It was an expectation. If we beat the teams that we are historically supposed to beat, teams that honestly, quite frankly, we are more talented than, then this won't be a problem. Utah may be rolling out their third string quarterback. Joe Milton has been outrageously hyped despite subpar performances at Michigan and riding the bench at Tennessee. All of these positive practice reports about Milton are against the Vols' sorry defense. Joe ain't ready for the swamp. Tennessee is not ready for the swamp. Kentucky may be the biggest threat pre-Georgia, but they are a beatable team. This is a team that Florida should be able to take care of business against. And Vanderbilt in the swamp, that's going to be an easy revenge game. We watched Vanderbilt against Hawaii. I am not concerned about the Commodores. South Carolina, while ending last season on a hot streak, was still a very easy win in 2022, and they even lost a few of their star players to the transfer portal. Thus, this is setting up a top 10 or even a potential top 5 matchup at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Okay, guys, my last hot take is that if some of these things that I've already mentioned happened, Billy Napier may be named SEC Coach of the Year. The Gators are going to have a pretty darn good season if any of the above mentioned things happen, right? He's going to exceed that preseason win total of 5.5 that Vegas threw around all summer long. And if Florida has that kind of breakout season, then both Billy and the Florida players are going to be in the mix for some big awards. I know that not that many people in Gator Nation would necessarily be shocked, but trust me when I tell you the college football national media will be blown away if any of these things happen. All right. We are just 2 days away from kickoff, and we are doing our Utah preview show tonight. So make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss that. If you watched this on Tuesday and you missed our recap of Swamp Kings and what Netflix didn't tell you, click right here. If you watched this after Tuesday, click right here to see our Utah preview episode.